Mm-hmm.
Here's a thought. We're going to talk about the HELVETE documentary review now.
Ooh, I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't. I've been so like, I don't know, like there's so many things to do lately. I haven't had the time to watch it. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
well, you know what?
Yeah.
Just because it's you, and
Yep.
because I believe that you need to like see this sort of like high voltage, old fashioned type uh clip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna show it, but
Yeah.
without the sound. I hope I don't want like get copyright.
It's a bit weird that they're still making documentaries about this thing. It's like early 90s black metal stuff is still something to be documented.
Yeah,
Like there have been several documentaries about this.
I
Oh,
mean,
there's your friend.
yeah, exactly, Billy.
Yeah.
Um, he's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty cool.
yeah, but I just wanted to make notes about the actual documentary because I have seen some of it, right? And although there's a lot of them talking about how they were influenced and who influenced them,
Mhm.
and the parts of society and how where they came from and what made them do the things that they did. So I just feel as though it's really important to highlight that out, that they
Mhm.
did have, you know, this sort of like background and everybody was talking about it. And yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Mhm.
It's not a bad thing. But I mean, just talking about values and principles earlier, what are your thoughts about values and principles in the music industry, like for black metal?
Well, let's see. It's difficult to say because I I think that then in the beginning they had a certain set of values and principles
Mm-hmm.
that are in 2020 completely ignored.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like these bands. Well, like I said, I haven't seen this documentary series yet, but I'm pretty sure it deals with Mayhem and Dark Throne and Satyricon and stuff like that. And most of these bands sold out. Or
What do you
maybe
mean
I don't know.
sold out?
I mean that like there was a certain rebellious aspect in the beginning, but like it's not just with black metal, but like I think with most hard rock and metal bands, there's a certain sense of rebellion.
Mm.
And as the years went on and these bands became successful, they've be, like sided with the oppressors pretty much.
Mm.
So, like, let's say, like, if you go to a Satyricon concert now, like, do you feel any, I don't know, like anything extreme, anything, I don't know how to put it, but like what you see is like, a few musicians performing and then Sigurd driving off in his Porsche or something after the concert. Like, and that's it. Emperor. Like,
He's a
you
nice
sound
bloke,
like,
though. What? Don't
what?
a cigarette?
It's it's nothing more than like an empty performance without any true meaning or like standing for anything, I think.
Yeah, but
Of course he has I like like they have some ideas in music, of course.
mm,
They probably have a message they want to transmit to their crowd,
mm.
but it's not very powerful.
I mean, I just think that 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 is a value and principle operation in there, and I just want to explain from a Norwegian perspective, because we don't have a Norwegian perspective when we talk about black metal, but
Oh yeah.
for them it is about their history and the specifics. That we were talking about the artist who made the album covers and everything else like that. And specifically when you look at album covers and Satyricon, you're looking at Edward Munch.
Yeah.
So you know that, you know, it's Edward Munch
Yeah.
when you're discussing stuff. So the relationship for them is based on artwork. So this one was from 2013, and it was the New Beginning album artwork, and they choose Edward Munch specifically. So the context of what I'm trying to say about the values of black metal is, during a period of time for Norway, the most predominant period of time for their art and their culture was when they freed themselves from the Swedish and the Danish. And for me, that's quite prominent as well, because, you know, you're talking about people like good old Ibsen. You know about Ibsen, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
And so the best way to talk about, you know, the Romantic period, because the Romantic period is known basically for English writers, and that's not true. You know, you've got William Blake, you've got John Keats, William Wordsworth, all of those people. Even Charlotte Bronte, Jane Austen, those writers were predominant in their period of time, but nothing like Ibsen. Ibsen actually had the fruitfulness of some that you can't describe. But I will say that the definition, all right, of a romantic period, listen to this, right? Get ready for this. This is gonna chisel your nizzle, as they say. Okay. Romanticism definition. Romanticism was a literally movement that emphasized individualism and emotion. The Romantic era lasted from the end of the 18th century to the middle of the 19th century, but its effects are still evident throughout modern literature. Romantic works were a reaction of the Age of Enlightenment and the advancing industrial age, a time in which science and rationalization began to take firm hold in the public consciousness. Romantic literature challenged this new wave of ideas of telling stories rooted in emotion, nature, idealism, and the subjective experiences of common men and women. Yes, which goes back to that point about feminism, right? It doesn't really exist in a whole cultural aspect. You know, it's men and women in a common goal. Hello. So basically, going back to this period of romanticism and whether or not it was really important, so was death, you know. And they really, because they really got into the deeps of it. And this is Hedda Gabler, by the way. I just thought I might show it in the background because it's really important. Let me do that properly. Hedda Gabler, do you know about it?
No.
Yeah, it's an Ibsen piece. It's about
Oh, okay.
people that were going through hard times, and basically, this is a theatre production of it, and the actor thought that she was going through a dark phase, you know, just playing it in the background there. And basically, it's about a man and a woman. They go through hardships, and then it leads to a result of bad times, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the end outcome would be?
Death.
Yeah. And basically, it's known as the suicide play.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't like to talk about suicide. We've talked about it before on the TikTok thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that suicide is a cultural thing for Norway. I'm not saying that.
Well. Maybe you might be able to say that actually.
You can say that because
I
we're all
think
living in the
so.
dark.
Yeah, I think it's quite popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I haven't looked into the statistics of this, but I think the suicide ratio is very high in Norway.
Mm.
And then maybe in Scandinavia in general.
Mm.
But it would be interesting to look into this a bit further.
You know, and the fact of the matter is, we were talking about Helvete, right? And you know that subject about Pele comes up, right?
Yeah. He
So,
killed himself too,
like you said, it is one of those things that is probably in the culture, and it's a characteristic that they're okay with talking about. I mean, many countries would just frown upon it and then say, no, you're going straight to hell if you commit suicide. They don't really discuss the problems about it, why it occurred, what was going on,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and what led to the result of that.
Yeah.
And the thing about black metal is Freezing Moon. Come on, mate. You know he took us there, but we all overcame that thing. And maybe he did that to save us. Maybe these things are done to save us, you know. I'm just saying. I have thought about it, and I have thought about the principles of why they do the things that they do. Because the Helvete series, it talks about Pele and where he went to in his period of darkness and what could have resulted or to his death, or what led to his death. I do have some questions about Oystein though, because apparently he probably did push him over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that element of darkness of whether or not you saw the weakness of a person and you wanted to challenge it instead of saying, yo, dude, get some help, you know?
Yeah.
And the beauty of the actual TV series is that it touches upon this point that you do need to talk to someone if you have those problems or feelings, you know. So the most amazing thing about Ibsen is that he could talk about anything that was happening at the period of the time instead of being, what do they call it when you bury your head in the sand? Yeah, bury your head in ostrich.
Ostrich strategy or politics.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just based on politics, it's to do with your culture as well, and whether or not you recognize that such things exist. You know what I mean? It's like, do you realize that we've become the post-virus syndrome, and we've got post-virus syndrome? Do you recognize that? Or, you know what I mean? It does
I
sound
think so.
Fruit Loop, but I thought about it, and I thought about how we might actually be entering a new romantic period. We might be. Like a post-industrial revolution. Might be there, you know. Just saying.
Well, I don't know.
It's hard.
Individualism and emotion. There's
Yeah.
no emotion.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, though?
I don't think romanticism is coming to black metal in the sense that, okay, like they always brag about individual thinking, and like that's the origin of Satanism and all that stuff. But at the same time, I think it's a bit dishonest with themselves, and like the emotional part is not being dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think Swedish Shining deals with some of that, but that's it. Like it's always some generic like evil things, like whatever that sounds cool, and then at the end of the day, there's nothing about the human being.
So you're thinking that it's quite puritanical, it's quite pure, and won't talk about those kind of things. It's not realistic.
Well, yeah, it's not realistic. That's like it's really interesting because like right now, if you ask me, there are all these black and death metal bands like dealing with I don't know, like Satanism, like demons or serial killers and all that stuff. Now I just laugh, because it's all fiction. It's stories to scare kids or something, like you like horror, but you don't take it seriously.
Mm.
What's serious is actual reflective things.
Mm.
It's difficult to actually phrase or write, but I think if you go to Devin Townsend, that's very interesting because he was like he was playing heavy music with strapping young men, and then like he turned to this very like that's romantic, like what he did, like this really mellow kind of thing, but there are some true honest emotions going on there, and I think that's it takes some balls to get to that point.
Mm.
And all these black metal people, they are pretty far from that.
I would say that Watain are, I'm going to defend Watain, but Watain are also a Swedish band. They are discussed in Helvete documentary, and obviously they're quite predominant. They're always going to the extreme and then passing that dark path. But they
But then again, I think it's just the result of good marketing.
I do
Like,
have to agree with you there.
I mean, like Watain, I think it's about 70% visuals and marketing, and like 30% music maybe. And I say it even though I really like the music too, but like it's a very very well structured thing, and I think it was Watain that brought this new well, not new wave of black metal, but it brought this new type of performance to life. I mean, after Watain did these really bloody and gory shows and they put lots of fire and all that stuff, then Mayhem started doing something similar, and then Behemoth started doing something similar, and now it's a thing.
But in 2016, right?
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd seen Mayhem with all the bands from previous band members.
Yeah, at Inferno, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that performance, it was divine.
Yeah,
You
it
know
was
why?
awesome. Yeah, tell me.
No, it wasn't just because of the pig's head, right? And the Pele imagination and what Attila can actually do. It was to do with the fact that on stage, it was like a performance of Shakespeare. Right?
Very interesting.
It
Okay.
was. And now I'm reflecting back and I'm thinking, those are the things that I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in freaking Shakespeare and Hamlet, Othello, Midsummer Night's Dream, you name it, I'm interested in it. And they did that performance, and I was like, yes, they like mixed both theatre with black metal, and it was just like, dude, and the drumming was intense. They got the former drummer to come back, and it was like, my heart just went. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt it just rise up into my throat just as I was watching it. And I was just watching it from the top. And when I was telling you about how there's a class distinction in even the theatre. So if you buy your tickets down at the bottom, yeah, and you stand at the bottom, the standing, you haven't really got that much money. It's a thing, even with tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're in the seating area, you've got a lot of money. So I'm overlooking them anyway in the corner, and I'm thinking, I got the best place in the whole world, and I'm watching this. So yeah, I would say that I'm quite lucky and fortunate to have had that situation happen to me. I loved it, beginning, middle, and end. It felt like I was watching an actual theatre production, but with the best band ever. Moving swiftly along, I just wanted to